Hi, this is Sana Farzeen and welcome to India Today. And I have with me the actress Avika Gor and director Vikram Bhatt to talk about Bloody Ishq. I'll ask you firstly, what were the kind of horror films that you guys grew up to watching?
Raaz, Raaz 2, Raaz 3, 1920, all of his films.
I grew up in a time where, it was adult films and there was no way of watching films other than the theatre.
Yeah.
And then came video, the VHS. And I remember watching the first film was Exorcist on VHS.
Yeah.
Or everybody had scared me and I had gathered some friends और हमने decide किया कि यार let's not take a chance, let's see it in the afternoon. Why see it at night and
Yeah.
get scared and all that? So we saw it in parts because we got very scared. But I have been fortunate enough to also see some greats of Indian cinema. I have seen Mahal and Kohra and 20 Saal Baad, and because they used to come on TV.
Yeah.
and I probably saw the censored version or the cut version, but even then, and even Ramses have made some very good horror films.
Absolutely.
There was one with Padmini Kolhapuri, I forget the name, Gehraiyan, I think, and they have been very iconic, and I've enjoyed a few of their films
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. I was just walking around your office and I saw these posters of so many horror films. Vikram, what was it about that you thought that this is something that I want to do? And also tell me, why do you think audiences still love horror? I mean, Hollywood has a variety to offer, but still we just love watching these Bollywood juicy horror films.
I think Bollywood horror has been a different art form.
Yeah.
People say, ke, why don't you make a film like Conjuring? Why don't you make a film like Annabelle? I said, because they are making it. Why should I make it if they are making it? But strangely, we don't say, we never ask why are there songs in a Hindi love story? Or why are there songs in a Hindi comedy? Or an action film?
Yeah.
But people always say, why do we need songs in a horror film? But that's our art form. Indian films come from a Nautanki art form. And the Nautanki art form was an art form, the Ram Leela art form, where there was music and dialogue that told a story.
Yeah.
And, we come from that art form. And that is the art form that most of India likes to watch. So I think there has been that discussion. But horror also has some addicts. I'll tell you a very interesting story that a friend of mine told me. He makes these apps, and so he was making these matrimonial apps. And one of the questions was that, like horror films, yes or no?
Yeah.
He said that we go for that question more than anything else.
Wow.
He said the algorithm says that 2 people who like horror films will get along and 2 people who don't like horror films will get along.
Amazing.
More than any other question.
Wow.
Because that is the nature of fear. You're either an
Yeah.
adrenaline junkie and you like to go on that, or you're not. And not to say that, opposites don't attract, but that's the way
Yeah.
it is.
Interesting. Avika, is that the connection, or you just love the Bhatts that you decided 1 year, as Vikram was talking about, after this, another films that's here?
Honestly, there was no reason for me to say no. बहुत अच्छी script, really good character, so much to do as a performer. But it was just like
Yeah.
everything was just right. And why would I say no to a film that Vikram sir is directing himself? Why would I? So there was no
Yeah.
reason to say no at all.
But I think as female actors especially, there's always this vanity that's involved when it comes to being on screen. When you're doing something like this, vanity just goes backseat. Tell me, does that thought ever come to your mind that how am I going to look, the look of the character, like does that ever come across your mind while you're signing up for such
I
project?
don't think so. No. Even on sets, I
Yeah.
haven't really, because I know the makeup artist and the hairdresser would do their job, and I leave it at that. I
Yeah.
think that's enough for me to. I don't think of that as my priority. I
Mhm.
would want to rather be on the set and have conversations with my
Yeah.
director and understand what life he has led and what
Mm.
experiences he has had in life, and that's who I
Yeah.
am. And I don't think of all of that.
Also, I think that people today understand the experience they're buying.
Hmm.
You know, if I'm buying a ticket for a horror film, I'm not expecting a fashion film.
Yeah.
I'm expecting gore and,
Yeah.
and a bit of dirt and rain,
Yeah.
and I'm expecting all
Yeah.
that, right? So I think it's the experience you choose. It's. I mean, you can't go into a Mughlai restaurant and suddenly start missing, pasta.
Absolutely.
Because-
But as an
because-
actress, like just to look at yourself like that
I
is
like
exciting.
It is. I
Yeah.
love this poster, and every time I used to be, especially for 1920, because I was covered in blood and all of that, and when I used to get ready for my scenes like that, I really loved it.
Yeah.
I really wanted to just go and give my 100%. I was very excited.
Amazing. And tell me, Vikram, of course, Raaz continues to be one cult film that everyone talks about. When you were making that, what was the idea behind it? And because it also, right now, even on Wikipedia, it says erotic horror, because that's a very risky genre also. Tell me about that, because you were dealing with something that's very new for the audience.
I don't know what was so erotic about Raaz. I don't understand. I mean, there is a story about a man who is, who strays in his marriage
Yeah.
and is with another woman, and that woman kills herself. Now, if you're not going to show lovemaking between the both of them, then why is the wife so pissed off? She's not going to be pissed off just because you said hello.
Yeah.
Hey Malini, how you doing? And she shot herself. What kind of a story is that?
Absolutely.
There is sin. And how do you make a horror film without sin? Sin is the basis of horror films.
Yeah.
The dark side. The dark side is the basis of horror films. Sexuality. So when you say that, the devil has got you, what is the devil?
Yeah.
The 7 sins, right? And so what is erotic? Erotic is something that is tantalizing.
Yeah.
I would say a film like, Basic Instinct is erotic. Because, there is the erotica is part of the character's persona.
Yeah.
And that's what she does. But just having a lovemaking scene in a film doesn't make it erotic.
Yeah.
And if it takes so little for people to get their rocks off, then
Yeah.
I'm happy to provide.
But what do you remember of maybe the shoot from Raaz and how things have changed when it comes to compared today?
I think the horror quotient has gone up. People, want more and more and more. It's like an addiction, right?
Yeah.
You have given them, first you give them like 30 minutes of horror in a 2-hour film. Now then they want 1 hour of horror. Then they want, give us more, give us more, give us more. So in a few films, I had more horror than I had in Raaz, and they were like, "Sir, थोड़ा horror होना चाहिए था." ऐसे तेरे को कहानी चाहिए कि सिर्फ horror ही horror चाहिए? तो मैं compilation बना लेता हूँ. एक के बाद एक सिर्फ horror films, horror sequences चल रहे हैं. But people, that's horror junkies. So that's what they want, and I think that's what's gone up. Another thing that has gone up is that's made things very difficult is the attention span.
Yeah.
Horror necessarily is a genre that builds slowly. the heroine hears a sound and she gets up and she wants to investigate. She just can't teleport to that place.
Yeah.
Next cut, यहाँ तो कुछ भी नहीं है. You can't do that.
Absolutely.
You have to build it up, right? But people are impatient.
Yeah.
So the director has to find more ways and means of holding the audience's attention. And as far as Bloody Ishq is concerned, it's horror on OTT,
Yeah.
where you have the remote in your hand. So, our attempt here has to be what we have done is what boss Mahesh Button we call a very impatient edit.
Wow.
We want to be impatient with our own
Absolutely.
film and make sure that bloody remote is not touched.
Yeah.
Also, a very big challenge is, when you have a dark audience, a dark hall with 5.1 sound, and you bought a ticket, and now you're glued to the screen. It's easier to create horror.
Absolutely.
But when it's when it's OTT and the lights are on and the phone is ringing
Yeah.
and the kids are playing, it gets more difficult because you're trying to scare people through all this distraction,
True.
and that's a big challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. But what do you remember of Raaz? I'll ask you again.
What I remember of Raaz is in terms of horror, or
No, just the set feel, because that was probably one of the biggest films that you had.
Raaz. The only thing is that the entire industry thought that we are going to fail.
Oh.
Because they were like, "Ye kya sala?" Because it was relegated to a C grade genre, horror,
Right.
and nobody had faith in it, except for boss, who said that chalegi.
Wow.
So what I remember of Raaz is a lot of burning rage inside me as a director
Yeah.
that I got to prove these detractors wrong.
Wow. Amazing. Avika, do you feel that rage? Do you feel that hunger to prove? Because you quit television when you were at the top of your game and to enter into this industry which is like so much competition around. Tell me, how do you kind of navigate your career ahead?
I've always been very curious and very excited for whatever comes to
Yeah.
me. And 1920 was not a part of my plan, but it happened.
Yeah.
And I've received these kind of surprises all my life. Wale Kavadu was not planned.
Absolutely.
So I just know one thing, that how much ever I want it to be a certain way, I know it's not going to be that way, and something better always
Yeah.
comes up, and I just leave it to that. I go with the flow.
Absolutely. And because I think the nepotism debate that keeps going around, because we have two people from different strata of the industry, an insider and outsider. If you had to ask each other one question about the nepotism factor, what would that be?
I would ask her how difficult was it to be cast in a film being an outsider. Or let's say one thing, do you think you would have had a better career graph than you've had now were you an insider?
I think so. Yes. Because I would have the access to a lot of people that I would want to work with. And I think that's about it. Because after that, it's my responsibility to make sure that the opportunities I get really show that I can
Yeah.
do something. But I think that's the only thing that makes me feel that, okay, maybe this is a minus that I have. But at the end of the day, I'm extremely grateful for what I have received. So even when you asked this question, I really had no questions to ask.
Oh.
I was just like, okay, maybe this is something that a lot of people think of, because yes,
Absolutely.
a lot of opportunities don't come to us, so easily.
Right.
But when they're supposed to come, they do. I mean, 1920, I remember one of my managers just messaging me, Vikram Bhatt wants to talk to you.
Wow.
And I thought, okay, there will be a hi-hello call, and then he would say, come audition or something like that. But instead, we did a Zoom call, and he said, I don't need audition or anything.
Wow.
And he narrated the whole script then and there,
Amazing.
and it just happened. So if things are supposed to happen and if they're meant for you, they
Yeah.
will. So that's how I look at it.
Amazing. You don't have a question for him.
Not at all.
Thank God.
Well, Vikram, like Avika, you actually casted so many outsiders, so many newcomers. Tell me, as a filmmaker, because there's always this risk, the box office number is dialing on your head, that fear. Tell me what gives you that confidence in launching newcomers?
Because I know for sure that, look, let's understand one thing. Stardom is dead. And by that, I don't mean any particular stardom. What I mean is stardom as a concept.
Yeah.
Because I remember that when I was little, the only way to see my favorite star, which was Amitabh Bachchan, which still is Amitabh Bachchan, if I wanted to see him moving and not a picture in Stardust or Cineblitz, I would have to go to the theatre. Otherwise, I can't see him move.
Yeah.
I can't see him alive. That's why he was a star, because I couldn't touch him. That's why they were called stars,
Absolutely.
right? But today they are everywhere. They are on social media. They are making their own reels. You bump into them in marriages and yeah, I mean,
Absolutely. More
you
accessible,
get
yeah.
to see a lot of them
Yeah.
sitting at home. That feeling of not being able to touch them is gone. You know, so and even the music I can watch on YouTube.
Absolutely.
So if you tell me, are you going to go to the theatre just to watch your favorite star? I'm not. Because I can watch him in other places, you know.
Right.
There are shows that take me into his room and bedroom and a day in the life of, and so much is going on.
Yeah.
There is nothing mysterious
Absolutely.
or enigmatic about a star anymore. So what is then? So if that is dead, then what is alive?
Yeah.
Stories. Stories are alive.
Absolutely.
And if stories are alive, then all you need is good actors
Yeah.
who can be stars and who can be otherwise. But I think films like Munjia, films like 12th Failed, films like, you know, so many other films have proved
Absolutely.
that it's the time for storytellers.
Storytelling.
So it's a great time.
Yes.
I think storytellers should grab this time and just go out there and make great stories.
Yeah.
That's why the South films have done so well.
Absolutely.
You know, you have a Hanuman that does well, or a Kartikeya does well, or Pushpa does well, or Kantara does well. Who knows?
Yeah.
We didn't even know these actors.
Absolutely.
I didn't know who this guy from in Kantara was. But why are they hits in the North? Because they have fabulous stories.
Yeah. Also, Vikram, right now the conversation is around how big films are failing at the box office. What do you think is lacking? As you rightly mentioned, is this the story or is it the wrong budgeting?
Well, it's always the budget that fails.
Okay.
But how less are you going to make a film for if you have a big star? You know, that is also something. But you know, there are two conversations. I mean, there is a conversation that is creative, and there's a conversation that is economics.
Yeah.
And I think economics can fail on a small film and a big film. As far as creativity goes, you know, if the big star does a film that the audience loves, like Kalki, you have Mr. Bachchan being Mr. Bachchan, like he was, as if he was the Bachchan of 90s. And people whistle.
Yeah.
And people clap. And it's like as if 3 decades haven't passed. You know, he's evergreen.
Absolutely.
Why is that happening? Because they love Ashwatthama. Right? So I think you've got to get something right.
Yeah.
Whether it's a star or not star.
Absolutely. And Avika, tell me how challenging is it to be an actor in today's time, as Vikram was saying, that there is no star. On one side, of course, there's this new accessibility you have with fans. You can interact with them one-on-one. But of course, that stardom, that curiosity factor is, of course, going away. Tell me about your challenges as a young actor who wants to sustain for a long time.
So I have been very lucky that I started working with a show which was so popular and people still remember
Yeah.
me by that show. But other than that, yes, of course, there are a lot of challenges when it comes to being relevant, and it's not easy
Yeah.
because I'm also told sometimes to promote something on social media that maybe I absolutely not don't believe in. And that's the line I draw, because I do not want to be associated with something that people would look at it and say, okay, just because everybody's doing, she's
Yeah.
doing it. And which is the biggest reason you will not see me endorsing a lot of things, because I want to maintain that about myself.
Yeah.
I want to take care of such things, because gaming apps, all these are like,
Absolutely.
the temporary satisfaction that, financially you will get, but that's not
Yeah.
what, will in the long run help you. So I believe that it's a choice, and like I said, I'm lucky that I started with something so successful that an actor like me doesn't have to worry about, okay, I have to earn money.
Yeah.
That thought doesn't come in, and that comes out of the security that I feel, especially with the kind of work that I have done over the years. And it's important to feel that security, because otherwise I would just end up doing any film that comes
Yeah.
to me or any project that comes to me. But I have been very conscious, and it's a choice that I have made, that I
Yeah.
would want to stick to what I believe in, and that thought makes it easy.
Yeah, but what about the pressures of, maybe as we were talking about, creating reels maybe on trending music? That's also become such a norm and everyone's doing it. Does that become an added pressure on
It's
you?
very interesting, because on my social media, it's either about travel or about some promotional photo shoot, and that's about it.
Yeah,
I, at one point did feel that I should do this, because this
Absolutely.
will make me relevant, and should be I should visit almost all the award functions, because that would remind people of me and all of that. I used to get those thoughts, but I don't think that's me. And the thought of trying to fit in,
yeah,
I think I'm way beyond that now, because fortunately I've got an opportunity to work with such
yeah,
minds that really make me believe in myself and make me
Absolutely.
feel more confident. And I know one thing's for sure: the script like Bloody Ishq or 1920 wouldn't go to any other actress of
Right.
my age, and if it has come to me, there's a reason. It's not just the the face value that I add, but also the depth or the understanding or the maturity that I bring into the table. And I
Absolutely.
would want to feel that confident forever.
yeah. Vikram, lastly, I wanted to ask you, there's this right now, this discussion on overhead costs that actors bring along when it comes to their having their own entourage, or chefs and vanities that comes along. How do
Chefs?
Chefs, yeah.
Oh,
Chefs.
okay. ये
Yeah,
मैंने
yeah,
नहीं
they
सुना.
have their own chefs and gyms. Yeah, they like a portable gym they carry along.
Okay.
As a
तो
producer,
शूटिंग कब करेंगे?
शूटिंग कर लेते हैं जब
अच्छा,
टाइम बच जाता
okay,
है.
I love that.
Tell me, as a producer, do you feel these are like unnecessary burden that put on producers by actors, by stars?
I mean, it is what you see. There's a nice line. Life is not what you accept or get. Life
Yeah.
is what you negotiate. Everything in life is a negotiation. If you want an actor bad enough, then you're probably going to accept all these demands. And if you don't want an actor bad enough, you're going to say goodbye and get up and walk
Yeah.
away. So I think we should not blame the actors for this. We should blame the providers,
That's interesting.
because it's up to the provider to say, I don't want to provide this.
Yeah.
And then if the actor walks out, we should have the courage to say, fine, walk out, I'll make a film without this. But how many of us do that? We don't. So then, it's all about demand and supply, right?
Yeah.
So if If you need it bad enough, you'll pay for it.
Yeah. I feel it's also unfair for young actors, Avika. Like we were talking about the pressure of social media. I think that peer pressure also comes in because you see people having a whole rally of managers, PRs, and entourage to themselves. How do you keep your sanity alive amid all this madness?
So, if I talk about myself and my experiences, I always ask for things that I really need.
Yeah.
When it comes to the word you said, chef, I do have one in Hyderabad. I do have one at my shoots everywhere, but I pay for it. That's the basic I could do,
Yeah.
and because that's what I need and I would want, and that's because not always in Hyderabad you find the right kind of food that I'm used to. And that's
Yeah.
maybe a silly reason, but it is what it is. And other than that, I really think that when it comes to the agencies and the management,
Yeah.
I'm still figuring my way out. I'm still trying to figure how all of this works. I keep asking him questions because
Well,
it is a lot.
Let me tell you, sorry to interject, let me tell you a very interesting anecdote. When I became a director, my grandfather, who's one of the legends of film industry,
Absolutely.
Vijay Bhatt, he made Beju Bawra and
Yes.
Ramraj. So he said, so you're going to be a director, so what do you want to be? What do you want to be a director or do you want to be a filmmaker? I didn't understand the
Yeah.
difference. What is the difference between director and a filmmaker? I said, I want to both, I suppose. He said, no, think about it. And then I realized what he meant. When you want to be a director, you want to be called the director. You want the perks of director. You want to be that star on the set.
Yeah.
You want that attention, you want that chair, you want the coffee mug, you want the guy with an umbrella. When you're a filmmaker or a storyteller, you don't care. You don't care what you're wearing. You don't care where you're sitting. You just want that shot.
Absolutely.
You want that shot for your film. And it's the same with actors. And I would like to ask them, do you want to be a star or do you want to be an actor? Because I feel that these stars who are going in for these chefs and gyms and everything that you say are putting themselves into a corner. Because one day your films will not work. And then you will not be provided this.
Yeah.
And that day, you will think that you have failed. Because you're not being provided all this. What you will not understand is that had you not given into all these things wouldn't have been the measure of your stardom.
Absolutely.
The measure of your stardom would have been only your acting.
Yeah.
But you're making all this into the measure of your stardom. That मुझे कितनी vanity van मिलेगी,
Stylist.
मुझे
designer,
कितने
yeah.
stylist मिलेगा. Why are you making that? Why are you putting yourself into a hole?
Absolutely.
You're digging a hole for yourself.
Yeah.
That should not be the measure of your stardom. But if you want to dig a hole, so be it.
Very well said.
Yeah, you lucky that you have him, and
know,
you
right?
will like get to hear all of this on a regular basis.
Yeah.
On that note, thank you so much for this conversation.